Hey everybody, welcome to Tightline Fishing Television. We're glad that you're here with us today. I'm real excited to be here with my new friends Kit and David. They're going to be fishing with me today, and we're in my hometown of Columbus, Georgia. We're going to be fishing for stripers and hybrids and white bass that are actually running up the Chattahoochee River getting ready to spawn. They do this year every time. It's an awesome, neat time of year to try to catch them. So we're right in the tail race of some fast water. We're actually waiting for them to start generating a little bit of current from the dam above us. And when they do that, that'll position these fish where we can catch them a little bit better. We're throwing baits that imitate shad. I'm throwing a swim bait. I think Kit's throwing a jerk bait. And we'll tell you a little bit more about that later. But we're glad you're here with us today. We pulled up on our first spot to go fishing for hybrids, and they weren't pulling any water or generating any water is what we call it. There was no current. And I threw my swim bait out there, and on about the second or third cast, to my surprise, I caught a channel catfish. That might happen to you on the Chattahoochee River. Hey Kid, how often you come down here and fish for these things?
I normally try to come down here every other day since I'm retired.
Yeah.
So I just come down here and do my luck, fish.
Awesome.
And when the water starts generating, like you said, we're gonna start catching them.
Now people, can they find out when that happens? Is there somewhere they can call and find out when they're going to generate? Or?
Yes, there's a phone number for the Georgia Power.
Okay.
You can call that number and it'll tell you the times of generation and the lake levels.
It's real important, folks, if you're going to do this fishing, to be down here when they're generating, and we'll get you that number before the end of the show. We weren't having any luck in the first place where we stopped, so we just made a short move right across the Chattahoochee River. And just about as soon as we did, David threw a super fluke out on a jig head and hooked up with our first good hybrid of the day. When people are catching these fish on the Chattahoochee, most everybody just calls them stripes, but we're catching two distinctly different fish. One of them is called a hybrid, one of them is called a striper. A striper was originally a saltwater fish that they introduced into freshwater. The hybrid is actually a combination of the striper and a white bass, and that's why it's called a hybrid. And you can tell the difference because it's got broken lines on it, and typically they're a little bit wider fish. It wasn't very long after David hooked up with that one that I hooked up with my first hybrid also, and I caught that fish on a J-Will swim bait head made by Buckeye Lures and a Kitech swim bait, which looks a lot like a shad. That's what you want when you're catching these hybrids and stripes. This is fun right here. Fishing with 100 of my best friends on the bank. Come here, little dude.
Bring in the big ones.
I'm catching them now, brother. That's my specialty. That's a small hybrid. That's the fish we're looking for. We're just looking for their moms. They're hard fighting fish, and when this water just started moving a few minutes ago, they start chasing bait a little bit. We caught a couple. See if we can catch some more. Got another one. We saw him come up. This is a little better one than that last one I had. Here he comes. Now he's where we need to be. Yeah, that's a nice one right there. I don't know if y'all can see it, but there's all kind of people around here, and then the fish all of a sudden start busting, and it's like chaos out here, but it's awesome. And they hit it hard. And they hit it hard. Come here, brother. Let's see if I can get him. Give him a little hug right here. Look at that fat boy. Oh, I like that. It's about like 5 pounds, probably 4 or 5 pounds. Just throwing a little Kitech swim bait on about a 3/8 ounce jig head. Go get us another one. We didn't have David mic'd up the day that we were catching all these fish, but man, he was wearing them out from the back of the boat. David got him another one, going out there in that pretty swift current. Oh, there's fish blowing up out there. I'm gonna throw out there to that fish. He's got a nice one right there. I'm gonna see if I can help him with the net. They're all over here, yep. About to have 3 on. Whenever you're in a situation like this, if you can have 3 or 4 rods rigged up, and that's what David's got and I've got and Kit's got, you want a bait that'll run deep and then one just under the surface, and then it's important to have something like he's got. It's called a pencil popper. It's a topwater bait that makes a lot of commotion. It looks like these shad that these fish are running away from, and so if you can have about 3 rods set up, that's what you want. They're coming up all out here. I'm gonna see if I can catch another one. I got him. That's a good one right there. That's a good one. That's a good one. They're thumping this. He's either behind a rock or he's a good one. He thumped that swim bait. It was just sinking. And he's back there in the current, which makes the fight even more fun. Got a double going here. I think I got a pretty good one. This is just craziness. This is just craziness right here. It's the good kind of crazy. No, he's not as big as I thought he was, but he's a good one. Come here, biggin. They act big. They're not like a largemouth. Put your hand in their mouth, they don't act still. Kind of catching twins up here, 3, 4, 5 pounders. It's an awful lot of fun. You want to get them off quick so you can get back in there and catch another one. You need the net, or can you just swing him? I'm gonna get this one back in the water, but you can see really good on that one how the lines are broken, and you know it's a hybrid. It's really important when you're fishing current to understand what the bait is doing, and it's important to make your presentation according to the current. So that bait is washing downstream, so you want to make your lure look the same way. So I was casting upstream at about a 45-degree angle and letting my bait just kind of drift down with the current, and I wouldn't start reeling until my bait kind of got coming straight back toward me. And that would be almost every time, that would be when I would get the bite, would be when that bait would turn to start to come back up current. I don't think this is a very big one, but it feels good. They're all good ones, don't get me wrong. But they're getting that current. David's got another one. Maybe he's better than I thought he was. Coming up right here. They do not jump like a largemouth, that's for sure. Come here, biggin. All these fish are about the same size. We'll let that one go. This little swim head I'm using is it's called a J-Will swim bait head. I'm using a 3/8 ounce made by Buckeye, and it's perfect for this little swim bait we're throwing. I got to get another one. He tore that one up so bad. Kit hooked up and caught a nice hybrid, and he was throwing something a little different than we were. He was throwing a little small shad-colored crankbait, and that can work really well also when you're chasing hybrids and stripers. What you got there?
Little bitty old white bass.
Is that a white?
No, it's a little hybrid.
Okay. What were you throwing there?
This right here is a little crankbait. Looks just like the minnow.
Okay. And this dives what, 4 to 6 foot, something like that?
2 to 4.
2 to 4, okay. Basically, these fish are chasing now. They weren't earlier, but they are now, so you don't want anything that dives real deep. He's throwing what we call a jerk bait. We're pretty simple people. That's how you fish them. You jerk them. So we call them a jerk bait. It's not because of the people that are throwing it. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
These shad in this part of the Chattahoochee River live in the fast current. Now, there's always fast current, but when they start generating power at the dam above us, that's when the current flows much harder and it actually pushes the bait down. And that's what makes the fish get more aggressive and start feeding, because the bait comes out and starts moving out in that current, and that's when the fish start to chase it. It's more readily available at that point. Everybody waves at the camera, man. This is what's cool about being down here, though. We're right in downtown Columbus. This whitewater you see behind us, there's old mills where they made thread and fabric and stuff, and they used to have overflow dams that ran the power. Well, several years ago, they blew these dams and created whitewater courses. So now in Columbus, we've got this urban whitewater. It's real cool. But when the whites and when the stripes and hybrids run in the spring, you got everybody down here at one time. It's pretty cool. I've been fishing the Chattahoochee River most of my life, and it seems like the last several years it's gotten a pretty bad rap, but I'm here to tell you it's a great fishery still. I mean, you can see from the footage today we caught a lot of fish, and the hybrids and stripers aren't it. There's catfish, there's largemouth bass, spotted bass. It's a great fishery. If you ever get the chance to fish the Chattahoochee River or one of its reservoirs, take the time to come do it. How long have you been fishing down here this way?
Since I grew up in Georgia and Columbus area, I've been fishing here for about 40 years.
Oh, wow. Now, when did you first start noticing you were catching more hybrids than the whites? About how long ago was that?
I'd say about 20 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, the hybrids have came back, it seemed like the last 15, 20 years. Beginning of February through like early June, right? They'll run the Chattahoochee.
Yeah, I was kind of, in my mind, I was thinking back to when I was a kid, and by now the run was almost over. But what Kit's saying with these hybrids and stripes is it's just about beginning to be good. And then he was also telling me, tell me that trick for knowing about when they're about to start and then when it's probably going to be over.
Basically, when you catch a hybrid or a stripe, one of those spawning fish, when you go to clean it and you cut it open, look at the eggs. If the eggs, the pre-spawn eggs are just pink, but then you got the spawning, when they get ready to spawn in about a week to 2 weeks, is they're pink with black dots. That's how you know. So you catch one that's pink with black dots, you know you have about a week to 2 weeks of really good fishing.
One of the coolest things about this trip was several times I would see a hybrid blow up on a piece of bait. And when I say blow up, it was chasing bait, and you actually physically saw it on top. And I would make a cast in the general vicinity of that fish, and several times we hooked up with one. It was really a lot of fun. Right there was one. Come on, fish. There he is, I got him. I got him. Man, they pull hard. I don't know if y'all can tell on the video how hard this current's rolling, but I can't even really judge in miles per hour, but it is rolling. And that hybrid hit right out smack in the middle of it. It feels like a big one, but I'm not gonna say he's a real big one until I see him. I knew we were gonna be in this heavy current and fishing around rocks and stuff, so I'm throwing big line. I like monofilament. I like the way it sinks. So I'm throwing 20-pound big game monofilament. Not many places you can go and catch a 5-6 pound hybrid and have people floating by you while you're doing it. I think it's a pretty good one right here, y'all. Yep, I heard an old guy one time fish for these things a lot. He called them wipers. I said, why you call them wipers? He said, because they'll wipe out your tackle. I'm trying, David. He's just not cooperating. Coming right to you. Thank you, man. David catches these a lot more than I do. How big's that fish, David? About 4 or 5 pounds. These gill plates on them right here are real sharp. They'll cut your fingers. But they are munching on that swim bait. They are, golly, when they hit it hard. The Chattahoochee River runs the length of the state of Georgia and eventually dumps into the Gulf of Mexico. But where we're fishing is about an hour and a half south of Atlanta in Columbus, Georgia. Above us, there's several hydroelectric lakes that are used for recreation and other things, but where we are is right below an old overflow dam that was used for power for cotton mills. Well, in the last several years, they've blown that dam and made an urban whitewater place, and so we're sitting right below there. That's why you see a lot of people in the water, and that current really helps us catch these fish. And this is really cool here too, because not only do we have other guys fishing and people rafting, but you got a guy over there lifting about a 3-4 pound hybrid up a 30-foot seawall. I thought one might be following it. I killed it and jigged it under the boat about 3 times, and that fish just thumped it. Cut up, brother. Why don't you cut up? I don't know if he's ready yet. They live in this current. That's why they're so strong. My goodness. They do not give up. They're so strong for a couple of reasons. Number one, they live in this current. Number two, look how wide that tail is. Their tail, for the length of their body, is much wider than a normal fish, and that's where that hybrid part comes in. They have the tail of a striper, but the thick, wide body of a white bass. So they just really pull hard.
There we go.
Here he goes. That a boy. Kit got him one. Is that big one you were waiting on?
They're pulling hard. It's right behind the motor over here.
These fish.
I'm coming on your side, David.
You just never know where they're going to go, and this fish got him all over the place. What are you throwing, Kit?
Throwing a swim fluke.
You want me to net him for you?
Sure, sir.
I will gladly do that.
Put a little bit of white chartreuse dip.
Yep.
On it.
Good job, brother. He's throwing basically the same style setup I was. Yeah, these fish are so strong, you gotta have good tackle, good hooks. He's got a good hook, and it bent that thing around just in that current. But they're all like twins. They're all about the same size. Good job, man.
Oh yeah.
A lot of times when you see us fishing, you'll see us move around a lot chasing the fish. Well, this is a very different scenario. This particular day, we actually used an anchor and anchored up in the current, because if you had been in the current, you would have been a mile down the river and not been able to catch the fish. So it was really important to stay in one spot with a really good anchor. Now, Kit was great at doing that. He put us right in the right position. He threw the anchor out. It hung in just the right spot. And that was really the most important part of the day. Catching them was pretty easy once we got anchored up. When we were anchored, there was current going all around us, but we were just in the right spot. And what that reminds me of is life is kind of like that there's always things going on around you. You got a job, you got a family, there's always going to be storms in life that happen, and you need an anchor, you need a secure spot in your life to hold you steady. And in my life, that's a relationship with Jesus Christ. I want to read you a scripture today. It's from Hebrews chapter 6, and it says this: "He who have taken refuge would have strong encouragement to take hold of the hope set before us. This hope we have is an anchor of the soul, a hope both sure and steadfast." You see, that's what you want your anchor to be. You want it to be sure and steadfast and always hold in the current. And that's what you can have through a relationship with Jesus Christ. Doesn't matter what's going on in your life, whether things are great, whether things are hard, Jesus Christ can be the anchor that's steadfast in your life. Maybe today you're that person that says, yeah, man, there's a lot of storms going on in my life, or I don't have anything to anchor my life on. And if you don't know how to have a relationship with Jesus Christ, it's a really simple thing. You see, Jesus already did all the work for you when He died on the cross. The Bible says it this way, that if you confess with your mouth Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart God raised Him from the dead, you'll be saved. And so if you'd like to ask Christ into your heart today, you can just pray this really simple prayer, something like this: Dear God, I know I'm a sinner. I believe your Son Jesus died on the cross for me. Would you forgive me of my sins, and would you come and live in my heart? It's just as simple as that. If you prayed that prayer with me today, I'd love for you to tell somebody who knows Christ about it so they can help you know how to grow in your walk with Him. Or maybe you have some questions or some struggles. We'd sure love to help you or love to pray with you. And so there's going to be a contact number on the screen. If you'd like for us to pray with you or help you any way we can, we'd love to do that. Thanks so much for being here with us today. Kit was telling me he comes up here when it's like this about every other day. What'd you do before you came up here every other day?
I used to be in the military, in the Army.
Okay.
And I retired about 2 years ago. And since then, all I do is just fish. I do a little bit of tour guiding, take some folks out on the water, things like that.
Around here?
Around here.
Okay. Well, we sure appreciate your service, man.
Oh, thank you, sir.
What that did to allow us to do what we do. So we certainly do appreciate it. And,
Thank you.
And all of you guys that do that for us, it means the world to us. Just like all the other ones, like a freight train. Look at that one right there.
Look at that fish on top of the water right there.
He's got that little bait right there.
Got that little bait.
This fish hit it way out there in the current again. He's way down there. What you do want to do though, and you'll see me fighting fish, you'll see me reel down, but you never ever want to drop your rod completely, because that's when the line gets slack and that's when the fish are going to come off. And it really doesn't matter what kind of a fish you got on or how hard it hit. Trying to keep it out of the motor back there. It'll come off. They're just, that's what they do. They come off if the line gets slack. So you always want to keep a tight line like that. Alex, I don't know many places where you can catch hybrids, go rafting, and run a zip line across the river within 30 yards of each other. But this is the place to do it. He's got the hook in the bottom lip too. That was not a real big one, but probably 3 pounds. We're gonna let him go get 10. But me and David got us a double. We're waiting on Kit to get a triple. Boy, they are so strong for their size. It's crazy. Crazy. You can really see the lines good on this one. I'm gonna do mine up the wall. There's mine, there's his. That right there. It's Chattahoochee River Special. I probably caught 6 or 8 of these big hybrids on this, and I'm throwing monofilament line. And I noticed a few minutes ago I got some rough places on it. Even though it's 20-pound line, if you rub your fingers down and it feels a little bit like sandpaper, even if the fish are biting real good, it's best to take the time to retie, because you never know when that next one might be the big giant one. So we're going to take a minute to do that. The Kit got one. He's throwing a similar thing. He's throwing a swimming fluke. Is that what you're throwing?
Yes.
And dyed that tail chartreuse. And I asked him how big is it. He said current.
He's trying to fight though.
Coming right at you. Good job, brother.
Full of egg.
Nice, nice,
Full
nice.
of egg. Look at that.
They're all exactly the same size,
Pretty
aren't
much.
they? Now, is that pretty typical, or you usually catch them all big to little, or they usually run about 4, 5, 6 pounds?
About,
okay.
You know, the same size in a school.
Well, I got another one, which is awesome. He thumped it way out on the end of the cast. Kit, we so appreciate him. He's done a great job putting us right where the fish are. And what he told us about them turning on again really happened. They're getting close to 6 and we're starting to get bit again. If I look a little excited, 3 or 4 nice ones just came up blowing up. And if you can do it, if you're close enough in with your lure to throw right in the middle of them like that, it was a skipjack, then you can usually catch them. That's to be aware all the time of what's going on around you. There he is. That is a skipjack, I think. Exactly what happened. I don't know if it's a little fish, but I threw right in where those fish were blowing up. No, it's a white, it's a hybrid. The littlest one we caught today, probably. Junior. I tell you what, big or little, I like them all. When I was growing up, all you caught down here were white bass, and they were about this size. I would say this was a white if it weren't for the broken up stripe. That's a hybrid, isn't it?
It's got broken lines.
Yeah.
That's a hybrid.
David got another one. Alex is having a good time today running from the front of the back of the boat. Here's the funny part. We planned on getting David mic'd up some, and we've been catching fish so regularly we hadn't even had a chance to switch over. So David does speak. He just busy catching fish. I got one. We got a double going. We got a double. We've probably had this happen 4 or 5 times today. We're waiting on Kit to get a triple. I just can't tell y'all how much fun this is to be able to come and not just catch a lot of fish, but catch really nice fish, one right after the other. I got a little smaller one. I think he's got a nice one. Nice. I think he caught mine's mama. That's a talent right there, David, making them come off in the net and not having your hooks get all in there. That's right. Exactly right. I think you got me on that one, brother. I could hold mine like this, though, see. Hey, we want to thank y'all for being with us today on Tightline Fishing Television. I want to thank Kit. Thanks for bringing us out today.
Thanks for coming out.
When the water started to come up, he put us right in the exact spot. I mean, it was just perfect. I want to thank David, too. David's on the back of the boat. He probably caught more fish than both of us off the back of the boat. But just appreciate it, and thank y'all for being here with us today, and join us again next time.